Okay, this article is from The Globe and Mail. Never heard of them before, but nevertheless. And the title is Do You Know How to Identify a Toxic Man? And it's written by Zosiah Bielski, and it was updated in 2013. Originally published in 2010. So it's got this toxic man stuff has got even worse since then. Masculine toxicity, and loads of people, of course, have made videos about feminine toxicity, but you'll never hear the mainstream media talking about. Anyway, let's have a look at the article. Then I'm going to switch to another article. Now, this is a journalist interviewing an authoress, but I've gone a little bit down the article here just to give you this a little bit of information. You map out 11 types of toxic men, the journalist says to the authoress. Which is most common? 11 types of toxic men. The other article, which is completely unrelated in terms of publications to that one, that I'm going to give you a little bit of information on, is 11 reasons women settle for less in a marriage. Women always need a bloody number. Okay, so this is a journalist interviewing a psychologist, Dr. Lillian Glass, who taught Dustin Hoffman how to sound like a lady in Tootsie. Now, how he can teach himself that, I have absolutely no idea. But nevertheless, now psychologist Lillian Glass is teaching women how to avoid duds. Now, I can't really hate on this woman because Dustin Hoffman's the only really brilliant role that he ever played was in Tootsie. I think he might have even got an Oscar for it. In all his other films that I've seen, you can see that he's acting, and you should never be able to spot acting in an actor, as many a director has said. Anyway, I'm bumbling away here. So, and there are many varieties, says the body language expert in her new book, Toxic Men, 10 ways to identify... Oh, fuck. Have I fucked it up? It definitely says 11 further down. I'll leave a link and you can see. 10 ways to identify, deal with, and heal from the men who make your life miserable. There's the emotional refrigerator. Okay. And the angry bullying control freak. And don't forget the wishy-washy spineless wimp. You see, it sounds straight away, guys, like you can't bloody win. You just always come into a category and you're a pile of shit. But anyway, she's the Dr. Glass here isn't she's not a man hater, she's not a feminazi, that's for sure. Anyway, she says that women become toxic men magnets when they convince themselves that they can tame bad boys. Well, straight away, why the hell, this all comes down, and I've seen it so many times, women in agony, they write to these agony aunts, these relationship experts, and they say, I thought I could change him, but I couldn't. That's one of the most common reasons for the destruction of a marriage. The two most common are over finances and domestic chores. And domestic chores in particular have been washed into women's heads by feminists. And yeah, I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but this bad boy shit, why would you want to, and who the hell does a woman think she is, or for that matter a man, think you're going to go with a person and then you want to change them? What are you doing with them in the first bloody place? Bad boys. Anyway, she continues. She urges, I'm not covering it all obviously, she urges women to identify toxic men through their body language, voice and speech patterns. Liars, for instance, will shrug their shoulders. Well, a lot of men will be tempted to shrug their shoulders at this article, not because they're liars, but because they just don't buy it. Bullies tense their jaws. Well, if I hadn't had a bottle of wine, my whole body would be tense reading this fucking stuff. Jerks will tell you they're jerks early on in your dating career. Oh, dating is a career for women all of a sudden? And these jerks, they do that. They having their first conversation, maybe on a restaurant date or whatever, and they mention their hobbies of, I don't know, cycling, jogging, canoeing, I don't know, collecting this, that and the other, and then they mention that casually they just drop into the conversation that they're a fucking jerk. Ah, dear oh God. The journalist asked the question, you say up front that the book isn't about male bashing. Have you heard that criticism? The authoress, it's not about male bashing at all. It's really about healing relationships. There are wonderful men out there, but unfortunately too many women go for the bad boy. Well, I say fuck these women. Just fucking let nature take its course if they're so stupid. I don't think they need advice at all. Skipping down, the journalist asks, you write about women who are toxic men magnets, to me that's arsehole women, and argue that they come from all walks of life. Yet we seem most fascinated when successful women pick rotten apples. This is where I switch articles. This is from Constative, 11 Reasons Women Settle for Less in a Marriage and the 11 Cures. And this is by Darlington Omer. This is from 2015. In the preamble, she says in one paragraph, in a study conducted in the early 90s, a group of women with an average IQ of 30, an average age of 30, it's easy to get them mixed up with women, of course, between 20 to 50 years old, were asked to go to a garden and pluck apples from a tree. You see, guys, you're the apples here. They could take whichever apples they wanted in whichever kind of order, but they were not allowed to go back and pick an apple they had already passed, only the ones in front of them, and they could only take a basket full, and so a majority of women passed the fattest apples, assuming there were better ones ahead. See, this perfectly explains female hypergamy. Greed, bloody greed. They always want better than what they've got in front of their face. Then they end up single, fucked up, and miserable. Anyway, it continues. And by the time they got to the end of the garden, they realised that the best apples were behind them. Stupid bitches, is what I say. And then it continues. The same group of women, bear that in mind, were asked to go back through the garden once more and make their choice amongst the apples. But again, they were only allowed to pick the ones in front of them, never to turn back and pick the ones they left behind. This time round, every single woman in that group picked the first good apple they came across, but as they proceeded, they realised that there were much better apples at the end of the garden, and by the time they got there, their baskets were already full with average-sized apples when the best ones ahead. If they rejected the best fucking apples in the first place, then the first apples they picked would be the bloody best. And if they picked the best of the shittiest apples at the other end of the fucking garden, if you can follow me here, Isaac Newton would find it difficult. If they picked the fucking best apples of the worst apples at the end, then how could the fucking worst apples at the end up becoming the better apples? Like I said, this would fuck Einstein up. Jesus. I started off with an article about a psychologist, and now I'm 7.5 minutes into this video, and now I need a fucking shrink myself. Women just fuck with your heads. Okay, and on that thought, before I go back to the original article, which I'm never going to get through, if you took 100 million women and Sir Isaac Newton hadn't discovered gravity, and 100 million women, and they observed an apple falling from a tree, none of them would come up with the concept of gravity. You know, a cannonball never travels in a straight line, and Newton explained it all, laws of relativity, and no, not relativity, what was he, laws of motion. They'd never get it. They would get it. They think the fucking fairies had knocked the apple off, stupid bitches. And then, I'm amazed that feminists haven't claimed that Sir Isaac Newton didn't just invent gravity simply to keep women down. In fact, I'm not even going back to the original article. Fuck it. I'll leave it in the description box, and you can have a look at it. Make your own mind up. I'm going to stay on this one with the apple picking bitches. And number 9 of the reasons that women do whatever the hell I said it was. I can't even remember now. I'm not going back up to the top. 9, strength and determination. I need that every time I make a video. And remember, I have to read all this shit. You guys who give thumbs up and put comments down, you don't go through all this. I have to read every fucking word. Number 10, you don't listen to your gut. Well, I'm listening to my gut right now. My gut is sick. I'm fucking sickened by this fucking bullshit. So, thank you very much. See you next time.